All right, welcome back to the Hour of Power, the Hour of Truth and Consequences, the Hour of Reality. Welcome back to the Talking Phillies Sports with MattyB program here on the Edge of Phillies Sports with your boy MattyB on the call on this beautiful Monday, May 20th, 2024. And it is again an honor and a privilege to be at the top of your Sports Week lineup. And I take that responsibility to heart every week I do. I really love that opportunity to be the table setter, if you will, to your Philadelphia Sports Week. And yes, again, we have a bunch to talk about this week. We got some Flyers news. We're going to do some mock drafting. We're going to talk very briefly about the Eagles schedule because I don't really prescribe to breaking down a schedule in May about a football team that we haven't really even seen anything of at all. And we're also going to touch on the white-hot, scorching surface of the sun-hot Philadelphia Phillies. And we're going to do that all in about 45 minutes. That's right, folks. I'm up under the gun tonight. Again, life comes at you pretty fast, and sometimes you miss the on-ramp or you miss the off-ramp. And tonight I did that. So let's not waste any more time with my little banter, and let's kick things off as we do every week here on the program with your day in Philadelphia sports history. And on this segment, on this beautiful May 20th, man, my mind is like a million different places right now, but I'm reeling myself in. But this segment is brought to you tonight by the good folks over at Dolan's at 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park, Pennsylvania. Head on down to Dolan's for good times, great memories, and for Wiffle Ball Mania. That's right. Wiffle Ball Mania this Saturday, May 25th, Memorial Day weekend Saturday. John Kruk and Mickey Morandini will be in the house to show off their skills as wiffle ball players. Really interested to see how that's going to look. I believe EOP will have a presence there. I will not be there, but I believe EOP will have a presence there. But head on down, check it out. It should be a fun time for all down there at Dolan's. And don't forget Dolan's from any other day of the year as well. So head on down to Dolan's on Saturday for Wiffle Ball Mania. So your day in Philadelphia sports history goes all the way back to the year 1951, and it is baseball related because we are deep into the throngs of the baseball season now, right? In this era of 2024, we're almost 50 games into the season. But on this day in 1951, Richie Ashburn collected 8 hits in a single day of baseball. That's right, 8 hits in one day. Notice how I didn't say 8 hits in one game because it wasn't. It was 8 hits in a doubleheader. But still, to be able to amass 8 hits in 2 games on one day, it's a pretty decent feat. And it's a feat that's really only been done better one time because the MLB record is 9 and it still stands. So Richie Ashburn fell a little bit short of the MLB record of 9, but to collect 8 hits is definitely noteworthy in one day. And on this day in 1951, Richie Ashburn did such that as the Phillies were all over the Pirates in this doubleheader. They beat them like 12-4 and like 7-1. And Richie Ashburn was leading the way up top of that lineup. And it really makes you pause, right? And makes you think and yearn for those carefree, simpler days of baseball when you had leadoff hitters who had specific roles on your baseball team. And that was obviously to get on base and to kind of, get things moving. And on this day, 1951, Richie Ashburn pretty much did it the best as anybody has ever had done it in a single day period as he amassed 8 hits in a doubleheader against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And there you have your day in Philadelphia sports history on Talking Philly Sports with MattyB. So let's get right on into it, right? Let's lead off with the Phillies. It's a great segue, right? We got Richie Ashburn. Let's lead off with the Phillies. 34-14 and 20 games above 500. Clicking on all cylinders. They coming off of a sweep of the Washington Nationals yesterday, and they're doing it in ways that are making a lot of people, including myself, harken back to the days of 1993. When in that season, for those of you that weren't around or don't remember, there was a vibe around the team that it didn't matter what the score was and what inning it was. The Phillies would have a fighting shot. And it was a vibe that I guess you could see we had that vibe kind of in 08, 09 as well. But in 93, it was an ever-present vibe all season long. 08, it took the Phillies a little bit kind of to get going. Same thing in 09. But in 93, the Phillies were off and running from the very beginning, just like the 2024 Phillies. And it's really been a pleasure to watch and be part of. And yes, still find ways to criticize this team because that's what we do here, right? And that's what real Phillies or really real Philadelphia fans do. We criticize, and it sounds ridiculous at times. And again, I am probably out in front of the brigade of that, and I won't stop because, with all the great hot start that the Phillies have gone on this year, we have 2 world championships in over 150 years of baseball. So I'm a little jaded, and I have a right to be. Because, yes, we're off to a hot start, but we never have anything to show for it at the end of it all. So, it's that fool me once, shame on me type thing. So we're going to continue to criticize, and we're going to continue to be critical of this team until they grasp onto that trophy there at the end of the season, that commissioner's trophy. So, but the Phillies, it's hard. It's hard to find areas to dig into this team. It's hard to find areas to be uber critical. A little tweak here, a little tweak there. Obviously, this team is it complete? Is it complete on May 20th? It's not. It's not a complete team. And at least we as a fan base seem to recognize that. At least as a fan base, we seem to acknowledge that this team is not complete and that there's still some work to be done. And we always seem to gravitate towards the bullpen, for that work. And there's been a lot of talk around the water cooler here in Philadelphia about potentially picking up some bullpen arms from some other clubs. And Mason Miller, the young man who's closing for the A's right now, is the name that kind of jumps right into the forefront. And I was asked yesterday on the postgame show, would I trade for Mason Miller? I mean, the easy answer to that question is absolutely. But I'm not prepared to give up what the Oakland A's are going to want to give up. The Oakland A's are going to want our entire farm system, to include me. Yeah, they'd want me too. I mean, that's what the Oakland A's would want. And there's some Philly fans out there saying, yeah, absolutely, man. Go, do what you got to do. Run all the way to a World Series. Empty out the cupboards in the process. And I don't know, for a team that's only won 2 world championships in its illustrious career or history, that makes absolutely no sense to me. Because obviously, there's something here this year, at least here at mid-May. Obviously, there's something to kind of grab hold of. But there's been something to grab hold of on this baseball team for the last 3 seasons. They went to the World Series in 22. They fell short of getting back to the World Series by just an epic collapse there in the NLCS last year. And now they're off to that great running start with that chip on their shoulder. And I mentioned the dog mentality as well. But why would you empty the cupboards? Why would you do that? I don't understand. If you look at the product that's on the field for the Phillies right now, it's not a young product. It's young in some areas, but overall, it's an old product. I mean, some of these players are playing in the prime of their career. Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber. These are all players that are currently in the primes of their career. And those prime windows don't last forever. And when they close hard. And there's no coming back from that. And it's not, for some players, it's somewhat of a steadily little decline. For some players, it's off a cliff. And I am not prepared to mortgage the next 10 years of Philadelphia Philly baseball for a potential shot at winning a World Series this year when you already have a product that has proven itself as a postseason product. So for all those Mason Miller people out there who want him here and are prepared to sell the farm in the process, I mean, haven't you learned? Haven't you learned your lesson yet? Making deals with the devil don't work. And why can't we just run this thing naturally? And why can't we become a dynasty? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with drafting correctly? What's wrong with signing the right free agents? What's wrong with grooming our players to be superstars? Why are we always trying to just get the quick fix here and go all in on one season? I don't get the mentality there. I don't. Yes, I want to win a championship pretty much probably more than anybody else. But I'm not prepared to sell my soul to the devil for that. We did it with the Eagles. And look where it got us. So, and then the other side of the Mason Miller coin, the other side, the more obvious side, is he's a closer. He's not coming here to close. Not in this system. Not with Rob Thompson at the helm of this. He might close some nights. He'll probably set up some other nights. Hell, he might come in short relief on other nights. That's the problem with the system that we have in the bullpen. It's this committee crap. I'm telling you, if something doesn't change with this committee crap, it's going to cost us. I have a feeling that looking forward into this and potentially into the postseason, we're going to get burned by this committee nonsense. We're going to get burned by trying to fit a round peg into a square hole one too many times at the biggest stage of the season. So bringing Mason Miller here, though, absolutely would make us a better club. But we're not going to. Are we going to allow Mason Miller to do what he does best so far this season, and that's close games? I know there's some talk about moving him back into the rotation next year. I'm not really prepared to discuss that or care to discuss that right now because I need help in the bullpen. But why would we bring a player here and not use him all the time in his natural role or the role that he is being the most productive in? And if that was why, and for the argument of, well, we could do that, Rob could do that, well, then why didn't we just sign Josh Hader in the offseason when he was a free agent? Why didn't we just do that? We would have saved the farm system in the process of getting a closer instead of going out there and trying to, sell the farm, so to speak. Could have gotten Josh Hader. The Phillies' pockets are deep. Could have brought him here. He's a pitcher in the prime of his career. He fits in with what's going on right now in terms of the players we have. Why not go out and get Josh Hader in the offseason? I'm going to tell you why they didn't. They did try to go out and get Josh Hader. Josh Hader didn't want to come here because Josh Hader wants to close. And that's all he wants to do because that's what he does the best. And he wasn't going to do that here in Philadelphia. So, Mason Miller would be a absolute stud for this franchise. And he's young, under team control, all that. Yes. But I'm not prepared to mortgage the future of my team in order to get him. Especially, I'm not ready to mortgage the future of my team in this current system of bullpen by committee because it's not going to work. It's not going to work to its maximum. But so I'm going to try to put the Mason Miller thing, to bed. Do the Phillies need to upgrade the bullpen? Do they need at least 2 more arms in there? Absolutely. But what they need more than that, in my opinion, is set roles for these pitchers. We need a closer. And I'm not saying to go out and find a closer. We may already have one here. We just need to tell somebody you're going to be the closer and only use him in that role. Tell somebody you're the setup guy, and we're only going to use you in the setup role. Tell somebody you're the long relievers, and you're the short relievers, and you're the middle relievers. And that's how we're going to use you. So maybe if we did that, or if we do that, maybe we don't need to go out and find anybody at all. Maybe we have the pieces here. We're just not using them correctly. So the bullpen is an area of this team that's really puzzling. Does it need an upgrade? Potentially. Does it need defined roles? Absolutely. And maybe if we find the defined roles, maybe we find we don't need an upgrade. Or maybe we still do. I don't know. But I just don't I don't get this. I don't understand why people are buying into the bullpen by committee. And I don't understand why a Major League Baseball manager who's been around baseball allegedly for 1,000 years would buy into this himself. I don't get the system. I don't understand the reasoning of bullpen by committee. And I'm telling you, it's going to burn us. It's going to burn us at one point. And I hope it's not at the point of the season where it's going to do the most damage. I hope it's potentially in July or August and he finally gets the message and he tries to fix it at that point because there might still be enough time there. So the winning is great. Absolutely 100% great. But is it setting us up for a bigger failure? Is it setting us up for this team's, deficiencies to be on pure blast? The other big story here in town with the Phillies is Cody Clemens, the emergence of Cody Clemens. Since being recalled from the minor leagues and stepping in for Trey Turner while Trey is down with his injury. Cody has been the man on the spot multiple times in his 16 days that he's been back with the Phillies. And I'm hearing a lot of this, well, what are you going to do with Cody Clemens when Trey Turner gets well? And it's a great question, and it's a question that needs to be asked. And I have an answer if you guys are ready for it. I say you trade him. Trade him right now. Trade him right now to address some of the other issues on this team. Because do you honestly think this Cody Clemens thing is going to last? It's not. It's going to phase itself out. He's going to cool off and become the fringe MLB player that he is. So why not strike now while it's hot? Trade him. Try to bring in another bullpen arm. Hell, try to bring in a backup catcher. But utilize what's happening right now with this team, the good vibes, and try to move on for some players that might be playing a little bit above their head as their value is up at its most, peakness. Move off of Cody Clemens. Make a deal. Trade him. That makes the most sense to me. Because what are you going to do with him when Trey Turner gets back? You're going to send him back to the minors and he's going to go right back into obscurity. Why not trade him now? So we can pick up something for him while we can until this, as he continues to heat up or before he cools down. So these are answers to the questions that people might not like to hear, but it's legitimate answers. I'm not prepared to trade my farm system for one player, and I definitely am prepared to trade Cody Clemens for one player. And I know you're not getting a Mason Miller for Cody Clemens, but you could get a serviceable bullpen arm, right? I'm just saying, man, I just think that all options should be explored when it comes to Cody Clemens. I really do. All right, let's head over now to the big old comment board. Yeah, Daniel Berry checking in, say, hey, happy Monday, everybody. Daniel, how you doing? Batty, me, and MattyB. Let's go, Matty Money. Thank you, Steve. Mitchkoff coming soon would kill all of our Philly. Extra platination fun. What in the hell is extra pollination fun? I don't know how to feel about this. I am not bought into the guy's greatness, let alone his goodness. We'll get into Mitchkoff here, Steve. I promise you that's definitely my first point as we go into the Flyers before we do the round 2 of the mock draft tonight. So I definitely will discuss the Mitchkoff issue or situation. Nothing will match 93 teams' patience with. Yeah, it was a listen. I get where people are comping. And I think when I first heard this, this is like the 93 team. I'm like, well, what the hell are you talking about? These are totally two different teams, two different eras, different personalities. But the bottom line is the vibe. It's not necessarily the people, but it's that vibe that's coming off of the 24 Phillies. It's a lot like that 93 team. The deeper they got into the season, the more unstoppable they became because the more confident they became in their own abilities to not lose. And, it became contagious for that group. And then eventually, though, it bottomed out in the worst possible moment in Game 6 of the World Series. Damn, Mitch Williams. Purely by pure talent, I don't think that's what we're looking to do here. I'm not looking at these teams in pure talent, and I'm not trying to stack them up against each other or compare them to each other. They're two different teams and two different eras of baseball. But it's that vibe, that dog mentality. I said it yesterday on the post game. It's that dog mentality. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, the comp thing. Just fall and develop. No need to make moves right now. I see, Steve, you're a man after my own heart. I agree with you. I don't understand this. Yeah, man, just whatever you gotta do. Just trade all these guys away and let's bring in one guy and let's hope to hell he helps us win a championship. And if we don't win a championship, don't worry about it. We can rebuild the farm system because we're so good at that here in Philadelphia, of rebuilding our farm system and drafting well in all of our major sports, that it should take no time to get that thing repaired. I just don't get that mentality at all. We got a couple of players, you're looking at Justin Crawfords and the Millers, and then, these are position guys that are kind of, highly touted prospects. And then you got some of the lesser, the Andrew Painters of the world who, yes, I would actually move off of Andrew Painter right now. If we could do a 1-on-1 for Mason Miller and Andrew Painter, sign me up. Definitely going to do that. And as I said, I'll throw in his friend Mick Abel and Griff McGeary as well. If I could make that trade, McGeary, Abel, Painter for Miller, sign me up. I'm willing to do that. I am willing to do that today, tonight, right now. Let's make that happen. But the A's are not going to want just that. They're going to want them three, and they're going to want Miller and Crawford. And it's some of that stuff's going to be non-negotiable for them. They're going to want probably Miller and Crawford part of that trade, and then trying to kind of fill in around them. It's going to be at least a 7 for 1, 6 for 2 type of move that the Phillies would look to have to make with the Oakland A's. Don't forget, the Oakland A's ain't breathing down the World Series front door anytime soon, so they're trying to stockpile for the future. And, Miller, Crawford, Painter, McGarry, Abel, they all fit the A timeline. So, as I mentioned, I'll go off the 3 pitchers today. I will trade them tonight. Painter, I don't know. Tommy John, I don't know how he's going to come back from that. Abel seems to be just lost in his own world in AAA. 5 years in the friggin' minor leagues, and he's nowhere near closer today getting to the major leagues than he was the day we drafted him 5 years ago. I'm kind of running out of patience with him. McGeary, same thing. He's sinking like a stone in the minor leagues. I'm willing to go off of them guys. If the A's look at those 3 pitchers and say, we can work with that and we'll make that happen, sign me up. I'm down for that. But other than that, I'm not looking to go. And as I said, the 2 names that are a showstopper for me are Miller and Crawford. I'm just not prepared to move either one of those 2. Hell, I wasn't prepared to move Logan friggin' O'Hoppe, and they did it. And I think it's going to bite them on the ass for it. So I'm certainly not looking to move off of Miller or Crawford. The Philly fandom has been starved of championships, but I agree. I want a dynasty. Kyle, listen, I don't know how long you've been listening to me or how long you've been tuned into Edge of Philly Sports. I am the pain in the ass, the monkey in the wrench, the fly in the ointment to the Homer Nation here at EOP. Because every year I have to be the one. I got to be the guy standing out there in front saying, hang on, we're not as good as we think we are. Or there's more work that needs to be done. And I get criticized left and right for it. But again, I don't mind it. That's part of my thing. And that's the cross I carry in my life. But this quick fix nonsense, this slapping a Band-Aid and going all in and let's empty out everything and the coffers in the process and let's go all in for a championship. It's instant gratification, but it's fleeting. It's friggin' fleeting. I've already forgotten about Super Bowl 52. I've already forgotten about that feeling because because that was just that. It was fleeting. It was a lightning in the bottle, all in, let's roll the dice, baby. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes type move. And it worked, but it hasn't been sustainable. But yet the Eagles fans that I am part of, but boy, I am so on the other side now of the Eagle fandom, are just brainwashed to think that 1, Howie Roseman knows what the hell he's doing, and 2, Nick Sirianni knows what he's doing now. And it's actually embarrassing to listen to the Homerdites spout out this propaganda. It really is. And why not be patient and build championships and championship dynasties the right way? Patiently through the draft, making the right player signings, doing what you need to do, going out there, trading what you got to trade, but not, come on, man. To empty out the farm system for one shot for a kid that's been in the major leagues for 2 years, it just makes no sense to me. Why don't we do it patiently and do it right this time, and we become the next New York Yankees or Atlanta Braves or, on the football side of things, the Kansas City Chiefs? Because we're not living in the Philadelphia Eagle dynasty era. No, we're living in the Kansas City Chief dynasty era. So why can't we be that? And that's a question I've been asking Kyle for 51 plus years. Well, maybe not 51 plus, but maybe 47. Give or take. Why can't we? Why don't we have the mentality in this town to build teams like that and to build championships like that? Nah, we hitch ourselves to false prophets, bow to the altars of false gods, praying that somebody catches lightning in the bottle, and it happens once in a lifetime. I think I might have lived to see my only ever Eagle Super Bowl win, but that's a story for another day. What up, Mike, man? How you been? Mike's likes doing what he's got to do. It don't matter if the Braves because we're up by 5 games. It don't matter if Braves because we are up 5 games. I don't know. It doesn't matter if the Braves because we up. Steven, once again, or Steven, Star Wars. Sorry, Steven, didn't mean to do that. But Star Wars. Turn around, go to your house or look at your phone and pull up today's date. All right. Yeah, we are 5 games ahead of the Braves, right? But it's May 20th, man. All right. We are just barely over the quarter mark of the season. We have a bazillion innings of baseball left. We have hundreds of innings left. We have so many things that are going to go up and down and change. Even with the comp of the 93 Phillies, they didn't cruise control their way to the championship. No, they had their ebbs and their flows as well. But they were able to answer the bell. And I'm not saying this Phillies team won't be able to answer the bell, but nothing is signed, sealed, and delivered at this point of the baseball season. It's not. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're stockpiling the W's. You're winning games. You're creating some cushion and some distance between the teams chasing you that you would potentially need when things are not going to go well. And when those losing streaks do start coming. Because if you think this team's not going through the whole season without a major losing streak, man, you're crazy. I'm sorry. You're straight up crazy. There's going to be 1 or 2. It's coming. But that's supposed to happen. It's part of baseball. And I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's the Phillies. I'm saying it's because it's the law of averages and it's baseball. And that's what happens. Things start not going your way. But you got to have that moxie and that character and that charisma and that talent to pull yourself out and then present yourself a cushion for when it does happen. And right now the Phillies are doing that. But I am not looking at the standings right now. I don't look at the standings. I know people are starting to do it. It's premature. Talk to me in the All-Star break. That's when I'll start looking at the standings. That's when I start kind of peeking at who's catching who, chasing who, who's up by what, how many we're back by what. That's when I start looking at it. All this right now is just trying to make ourselves feel good about something that we don't need to be made feel good about. It's good. Enjoy it. But stop trying to rationalize it. Stop trying to say, well, we're 5 games ahead of the Braves. What is our magic number right now to win the NL East? Like 114? Come on, man. Let's put some perspective in this. Let's enjoy the streak, though. Love the starting pitching. Yeah, Mike, that's been one of my biggest things with this team. One of the biggest things that I think that really set this team off on the right path versus what happened last year, with all the injuries and the uncertainty within the starting rotation. This year we kind of avoided that. And then, of course, you factor in the Ranger Suarez thing that nobody saw coming. I remember talking to Al. I was talking to him during our preview show, for the season, for the Phillies season, asking him, feeling uncertain that Ranger Suarez can step up from that 4 to that 3 role that the Phillies were going to ask him to do this year. And I remember saying to him something in the terms of this, that back in 22, when they wanted to bring Ranger in as the 5th starter, remember when he was in the bullpen then and they brought him in as the 5th starter? I was like, I don't know, man. Can he be the 5th starter? And he could be. Last year, they elevated him from the 5th starter up to the 4th starter. I'm like, oh, man, I don't know if he could do that. Did it. And then this year, when they elevated him up to 3, I remember thinking to myself, the last 2 years I've said, I don't think he can do it, and he's done it. So I'm not going to say that this time. I'm going to say, yes, he can do it. And not only has he done it, he's done it amazingly, and he's done it historically. So I doubted Ranger Suarez, just like, I don't know if anybody out there, everyone out there was going to say, oh, no, I didn't doubt. Yeah, of course you did. You did doubt Ranger Suarez because, he kind of, you're not with him every day. You're not watching his progression as a pitcher. The Phillies were, and the Phillies obviously thought he was ready for more responsibility to go higher up in the rotation, and goddamn, they were right. Especially up to this point. So that, to me, the starting rotation and obviously Ranger within that rotation has been the biggest kick in the butt for the Phillies. A's know all too well that most prospects wind up like, yeah, absolutely, they do. They do. So just like the Phillies should be doing with Cody Clemens, Steve. Sell high. Sell now. I mean, it's Cody Clemens, for God's sakes. He is what he is. But maybe somebody out there is thinking, you know what? I think this is the start of something. And that's what the A's are doing too. They're like, we don't know how long this is going to last, but you know what? We've stockpiled some talent in our system. We've been got awful for a long time, and we've been picking high in a lot of drafts. So we feel comfortable right now to part with Mason Miller. We feel comfortable right now to part with him for a king's ransom. And you know what? Say, hey, if it works out for him, that works out. If it doesn't, yeah. But it's the same game. The A's are doing the same thing. They're trying to sell high before this thing falls apart on Mason Miller. So it's a game. It's absolutely a game, and don't fall victim for it. We pin our hopes to the wrong quarterbacks. Oh, now we're starting to gravitate into the into the Eagles, Steve. Yeah, well, as I said, we're going to talk briefly, Steve. I got a lot to do, and I've already run out of I got like 14 minutes to do it in. I don't think I'm going to make it, so I'm going to probably go past 9 o'clock. But oh well, party abroad, they can pound sand. But yeah, no, we do pin our hopes to the wrong quarterbacks, and once again, we're gonna do that this year, right? We're gonna say it was the offensive coordinator. Yeah, it was Brian Johnson. Jalen Hurts is fine. It was Brian Johnson. When Vic Fangio did his little introductory press conference last week, I was waiting for some Philadelphia Eagle beat reporter who's got cojones, which I know there's not many of them out there, but somebody who's got the balls to say it to Vic Fangio. Because Fangio was the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins last year. Why couldn't somebody ask the man to his face, can Jalen Hurts read a defense? Because when you were scheming against them, and now, of course, the Eagles Eagles rolled over the Dolphins in that game. But, hey, defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, when you were that last year, what is your take on Jalen Hurts' ability to read defense? Because you had a scheme against him. Nobody had the balls to ask him that, or nobody had the mindset to ask him that, because that is a question I would love to either have watched him tap dance around or have actually answered it, because that would have given. I mean, who else asked better? Jeez, what was it? Wow, who better to ask? It's dementia setting in. Who better to ask than a defensive coordinator if Jalen Hurts can read defenses? Because he had a scheme against him. So I would have loved to have known. And if somebody has the opportunity to interview Fangio, please ask him that question. I would love to hear the tap dancing answer or the actual answer about if he can actually read defenses. Do you feel we will win the World Series this year if Bryce starts to play good and Turner comes back as good as ever? Great question, Bruce Harper. Love these names. Bruce, it's mid-May. Or now I guess you could call it late May now. I don't know when does mid-May turn into late May, but it's the end point of May. We're getting into the end of May. I hate to say this, but if you kind of flip the sports pages back a year ago, weren't the Pittsburgh Pirates kicking ass in the NL Central this time last year? And then they completely fell apart, at that point. I'm not saying we're the Pirates. I'm not saying we're the Reds. We've been there. We're tested, right? We can get to the postseason. We've proven it. Can they win the World Series? No, I don't know. I don't, with this product as it is, and as you mentioned, with Bryce starting to play at Bryce level and Trey Turner coming back as good as ever, why not? But it all really comes down to, and we've seen it. I watched it all my life. The postseason, MLB postseason is the most magical time of the year. Anybody can win it. We've watched it in the National League over the last 2 years. 2 6 seeds went to the World Series the last 2 years from the National League. So, I'm sure the Dodgers and the Braves every year, as they were winning 110 games a season, are thinking there's nobody going to touch us in the postseason. Nobody. And what happens to the Dodgers and Braves every postseason? They get eliminated in the first, second round. So, do I think they can win the World Series? I don't know. Can they be in the mix to compete for a World Series? Absolutely. Because I am not going to sit up here on this ledge and make a prediction about one of the most purest, funnest moments and times of the sports calendar, and that's October. When you got hockey starting, basketball's starting to ramp back up, football's catching hold, and you got the MLB playoffs. And then, of course, you got autumn, to boot. So it is one of the most magical times of the year for me. I love October. And to sit back here and say that it's a done deal that we're going to go to the World Series and win it, I can't say that because I don't know. And I've been burned too many times in the past making that prediction. But can they compete for a World Series? Yeah, they are a team that can compete. Win? I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I would feel way better with a bench threat. Nut, we can get that later. Yeah, bench threat. Steve, I kind of went on a rant yesterday on the post game about that. I think the bench is better than it was last year, at least right now. There's some options there, right? Merrifield hasn't worked out to the way I think a lot of people thought he was going to work out up to this point. He still has a whole season to figure this out. You got some players down in AAA, David Dahl, who's got Major League Baseball experience. He's having a great time, or he's having a great stay at AAA. I thought he really should have made this team out of camp. He had a really good spring when nobody else really did. But obviously there was an agenda for this team, and I get that. So there's some more options, at least on the bench right now. It may not be there currently on the bench, or struggling currently, but there's more options for the Philly bench than there were last year. As I said, the images of Jake Cave walking up with the season, literally on his bat, is something I can never unsee, and I'm worse for having gone through that. So there's more options there, and I think that as the season kind of works itself out, those options will become more clearer. I don't think Cody Clemens is one of those options. I would not feel comfortable, even right now with Cody Clemens the way he's hitting, that we're putting the season on Cody Clemens' bat in the NLCS or the World Series, or having him in a situation late in the game in the postseason and he needs to deliver a hit. I don't feel comfortable with that because he doesn't have the pedigree for that. He doesn't have the experience for that. We've seen that experience overtake our players. Kirkering, deer in the headlights in the NLCS. Hoffman, deer in the headlights in the NLCS. Rojas, deer in the headlights in the NLCS. I don't want to go back down that road and insert Cody Clemens' name into that mix in 2024. I don't. One, I don't think Cody Clemens is this good. He's riding a wave, and we need to sell him before the wave crashes. So there's better options on the bench. Could the bench go for an upgrade? Once again, I don't know. It's like the bullpen. Until we establish roles and stuff like that, who knows what we got on that bench? I don't know. Walter says the Braves have played 6 less games than the Phillies 5. Yeah, I know they've been dealing with a lot of weather issues, and that could also be part of why the Phillies have overtaken the Braves to this point, is because the Braves just haven't played the games, and when they do play the games, they've been winning. I know the Braves haven't been winning lately, but it's May. It's friggin' May, and we all need to kind of just relax. Gabe Kapler would have Ranger out after 5. Yes, he would have. Yes, he would have. Parker retire. Parker retire? What the hell is he talking about? I am sorry, as you're probably right, as it's too early for me to ask this important question. I hope you can stay healthy and continue to play good baseball. No, Bruce, it's not a dumb question. Listen, there is no such thing on this show as dumb questions. You guys got to understand that about me. I'm not going to agree with all your points. I'm not. I'm definitely not going to agree with all your points. I'm going to debate your points, but I'm not saying they're dumb, and I'm not saying not to bring them to bear. That's not how this show works. This show works, you're going to give it to me, I'm going to give it to you. It goes back and forth. We're going to agree, we're not going to agree. We're going to come to a common ground, we won't come to a common ground. It's not personal. It's not, it's none of that. It's just fun. It's sports, for God's sakes. So don't ever say that it's a dumb question. It's not. I said, they could compete. I'm telling you that I don't personally feel like they can win the World Series. Or I don't know if they can win the World Series. If you feel that they can win the World Series, that's great. That's your feelings. I will respect that. I don't have to agree with it, but I'll respect it. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't make it viable. It certainly makes it viable. It makes the world go around, Bruce. That's how we do things here. So no, brother, bring them. But as far as your point, again, if they can stay healthy and continue to get the pitching, I think it all comes down to that too. If that pitching can continue, absolutely, they can be in the mix. Oh no. Devontae Parker retired from the NFL. Oh, no. There goes our slot receiver. Thank you. I feel like you're so nice. What's that? Thank you. I feel you are so nice the way you said it. I appreciate it, man. Listen, again, don't thank me, all right? Please, don't thank me. Thank your, what we used to call it in the Army, thank your recruiter. There you go. Don't thank me, thank your recruiter. All right, listen, guys. I appreciate the feedback, but I got to show, man. I got to get into some things. Last week, let's transition. Steve asked a question way back when, and I want to get to it right now. The Flyers, right? Anyway, the Phillies, let's put a bow on that. 34-14, 20 games over 500, 14-3 in the month of May. continuing red hot, white hot, whatever color you want to, whatever the hottest color of hot is, that's what they are right now. And they are going to try to continue to ride that wave on Tuesday, tomorrow night. They're off tonight, but tomorrow they start a 3-game set against the Rangers. And of course, here on the Edge of Philly Sports, we got you covered with the Fightins Final. This is our lineup for the Ranger series. Mike got you on Tuesday, Pat got you Wednesday, and I got you on Thursday. So make sure you're tuning in on the Edge of Philly Sports for all your great Phillies post-game stuff. But let's transition to what Steve had asked me earlier about Matt v. Michkov, the Russian Rocket, the savior from the East. Is he coming? And that's what seems to be. Now, this is what I'm getting from this story. It's breaking all over the place. There's tidbits circulating everywhere. And one of the things that I get, and let's kind of recap the story as I understand it to be, that Michkov is currently negotiating his way out of his contract with SKA St. Petersburg of the KHL. He's got 2 years remaining on the deal. And this was one of the big, we've been saying this since the Flyers drafted him. When's he coming? When's he coming? When's he coming? When's he coming? I wasn't prepared for him to come this summer. I thought he was coming. I thought maybe at the very earliest next summer or next spring when either St. Petersburg or Sochi was eliminated from the season, that maybe we could try to spring him then. But it's looking like he is negotiating his way, or him and his management team, or whoever is in control of him they're trying to negotiate his way out of the contract. The Flyers allegedly have no idea that any of this is happening, and that they allegedly have said they've heard the rumors. They can't confirm any of it. Now, is that showbiz talk? Is that GM speak? Yeah, it might be, right? I don't know if Matt v. Michkov has the muscle money to buy his way out of Russia. He probably needs the Flyers for some of that, but they're playing the I don't know, it's what news to us too, and that's fine if that's their stance. I think that's actually pretty cool. You don't ever tip your hand, but it's seeming like it's imminent that he will be able to join the Flyers at some point this summer. And obviously that changes things for year 2 of the rebuild. I did an article very quickly last night when this thing began to kind of really, I saw it all weekend. I wasn't going to act on it. Then I said, you know what? I think whether there's smoke here, I think there's fire. So I went ahead and threw together something and put it out there. But this definitely changes the rebuild. It changes how the Flyers should look at the draft. It changes how the Flyers should look at free agency. It changes a lot about what this team is going to do heading into year 2 of a rebuild, if this is, of course, going to happen. Now, there's sort of a timeline here, right? The Flyers and Matt v. Michkov, or I should say the Flyers, I don't really think Michkov's involved in this, probably need to know his availability by this date right here. And that's June 28th in Las Vegas when the NHL draft is. Because I think that might greatly, I'm not necessarily saying drive the Flyers in a whole nother direction of where they were going to draft, because I think they were obviously they're drafting with the future in mind, and Michkov was still part of that future. Now, no one really thought that future was today, but 2 or 3 years down the line, that was when that future was going to be. So I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to throw off the draft process for the Flyers. I think that is still, that was already kind of set with Michkov in mind, regardless of whether or not he was going to come this year or next year or the year after. So, but free agency might be a little different, right? The Flyers might be thrown off on free agency a little different, because the way I look at this thing now, and this is coming from me, the resident hockey guy here on EOP, if Matt v. Michkov is imminently coming to the Flyers, if he is going to be wearing orange and black this fall, which, God, that would be great, then the Flyers need to start drafting his line right now. Right. We don't need to be inserting him into a line. We need to build him a line. We need to build him his own line of players that are at the same talent level or close, but more importantly, players of the same age, right? So they can grow together, because that's how you really do it. I don't necessarily want to see Michkov and TK on the same line. I don't necessarily want to see Couturier and Michkov and Farabee on the same line. I don't want to see that. I want to see Michkov, the person we draft at center, and potentially another left wing pickup right? Maybe we make a concession for one of the younger left wings. But I think now more than ever, and I'm sure it was part of the draft process anyway, you got to start looking at building Michkov's line because that's what we need to do. Michkov means a lot for this organization. He is a face. He is a franchise player. He is a part one of a super duo that we haven't had here in a long time. Potentially. Of course, I'm all saying this is all projection because we don't know how good he will be. But he represents that. He represents something we haven't had in this town in a very, very long time. A marquee name. A player that is recognizable by his face, then boom, that's the Flyers. And MattyB Michkov means a lot to that before he even steps on the friggin' ice. And if the Flyers could bring him this summer, tickets are going to go out. Ticket sales are going to go out the door. They're going to go up. They're going to go out the door. Jersey sales are going to go out the window. What he will represent to this team on a financial status heading into the season is immense. And of course, obviously, what he could provide on the ice is going to keep, the money train rolling. But as the Flyers get ready for their draft, and we did round one last week where we did a mock draft, I had the Flyers taking Caden Lindstrom in pick number 12 and Tanner Howell with pick number 30. Today, we're going to run round two. We're going to do picks 33 through 65. The Flyers are drafting twice in the second round. And we're going to see what we can do maybe to help out MattyB Michkov some more. Tanner Howell is a left wing, and Caden Lindstrom is a center. So I already envision not necessarily Tanner Howell as my left wing, but definitely a Caden Lindstrom, Tija Gilna, Helenas Constra, and MattyB Michkov line. Right wing center combination. That would be great. That's awesome. But let's kind of take a couple more comments and then let's get into the draft because we're running out of time. Steve says he's doing workouts in Flyers hockey gear. Was telling me. Yeah, I saw that little YouTube thing or whatever Twitter thing. Who knows when that was shot? That could have been shot after the draft. Who knows? But listen, I don't doubt he wants to come here. And I'm gonna one last point about Michkov before we get to the draft. But I don't doubt that he wants to come here. I think he was actually in his season this year for Sochi, because don't forget he was playing for St. Petersburg. They moved him along. They loaned him out to Sochi. It was a god-awful team. He played 47 games for them. He was in and out of the lineup all season long. He had some pneumonia, health issues. He had pneumonia at one point. He was also benched a couple times for conduct issues. And in the 47 games he played, he scored 19 goals and 22 assists. So, and I honestly think he was mailing it in. I think it was a ploy that he was becoming he didn't want to be there. And he was really, diving it up, saying, I don't want to be here. I want my ball and I want to go home. And I think that might be the reason why we're in this situation, because he might have put an ultimatum to them this year and said, you thought I was bad last year? Well, get a load of me now. Let me out of this contract. So I'm not saying that, what he's doing to get out of the contract is ethical. It's probably not. It most certainly isn't. But, even he was kind of half-assing it last year, and he still was tearing it up, and for a very bad hockey team. So I'm looking forward to it if it's going to happen. Walter, after being the worst team, Colorado won the Cup. The expansion team, Vegas, won the Cup. When the Flyers get better, Chicago will be better. They know how to lose and get the top pick. Yeah, well, listen, Walter, I can't control what the Chicago Blackhawks, San Jose Sharks, Anaheim Ducks, and the Columbus Blue Jackets do or don't do. I can't control that. And unfortunately, I wish I could, because you're right. It doesn't seem fair. Connor Bedard is now a, Blackhawk. There's going to be a highly touted player from this draft going at 3, probably Demidov or, Catton or, one of them kids is going to join Connor this year. San Jose is going to take 1 overall. They've been amassing picks for a while. Celebrini is going to be a Shark. I can't control the tank mentality. I can't control a team that is the acceptability of tanking. I personally, I hated the process. I hated tanking. I hate it. It's so uninspiring. I hate it. So I don't know. I mean, I hear your point. I do. But I think it's easier to do it. I think it's more gratifying to do it the way the Flyers are doing it. I really do. Because it really tests people's ability and understanding the game and players. I really do. But no, I feel you, Walter, man. I do. I absolutely feel you. But let's head over to the draft. All right, let's get into the simulation. As I said, we're going to start here in the second round. And remember how I have this kind of hooked up, right? I turned down randomness all the way down to 0, and I turned up team needs all the way up to 100. And here you go. Here is the second round of the draft in our faces. Leading off the second round is the same team that led off the first round. That's the San Jose Sharks. And by the way, before we get too deep into this, remember that the Edge of Philly Sports, that's right, the Edge of Philly Sports, and the Clear the Ice crew. Well, I don't want to say the Clear the Ice crew. I know I'm doing it, but I don't know who else is doing it with me. But we are going to provide you day one, round one coverage live of the 2024 NHL draft on June 28th from Las Vegas. Well, that's where the draft is. We're not going to be in Las Vegas. God forbid Al sends me to Las Vegas and never see me again. But we're going to be running a draft show. So we're going to jump on the coattails of the NFL draft boys and do our best with that, as well as we're going to do the MLB draft, and as well we're doing the NBA draft. So draft season has just begun here on EOP. But on to the second round, and San Jose, Macklin Celebrini, of course, was taken in the first round by them. What is San Jose doing with their second round pick? And they're going to get Jet. This is going to be fun, guys. Jet Lakanko. He is a centerman, plays for the Guelph Storm of the WHL. 200-foot game, smaller forward, uses his speed well back off defenders, high-level passing ability, and IQ. Now, of course, most of these players are not day one NHLers, right? This kid is 17 right now. He won't be 18 until the summer. He's a grinder, playmaker, 2A. Obviously, probably will return to the Western Hockey League next year. 5'10" and 165 pounds. He better return and bulk the hell up, because at 5'10", 165, he's going to get destroyed in the NHL. And if you see some of these players as we go through this draft, I've done this multiple times already now. There are some really small kids in this draft. And I mean stature and weight. 5'10", 165. What do you think? I mean, first of all, I know it's not 1994, but what do you think a kid who was 5'10", 165 pounds would have done back in 94? They would have been scooping him off the ice and putting him in a bucket. But San Jose is going to go ahead and draft him here. Again, he's not a day one NHLer. He's going to go back to the potentially or most definitely go back to the Western Hockey League and work on some skills. Next up is the Chicago Blackhawks, and they go ahead with Nikita Artemonov. Now, listen to me. I had this guy as a projected first-round talent. I really did. And this is a really good pickup. If he falls to the top part of the second round, this is a no-brainer for the Blackhawks. Again, slippery, savvy, skilled forward, highly intelligent, positional player, accurate shooter, not physical. So basically to say he's a prototypical offensively minded right wing of the 21st century. Again, small in stature, 5'11", 187 pounds. Even, he's a little older. He's 19 now. So does he come over and, be a day oneer? Probably not. Obviously, there's contract situations to be looked at with him in the KHL. But he is a good piece to kind of grow in Chicago. They need to amass talent. And this guy is a first-round talent. And somehow he made it to the top part of the second round. So a no-brainer here for the Chicago Blackhawks at 34. And now let's go to the Anaheim Ducks at 35. Flyers will be picking after Anaheim. Anaheim goes with Will Sakin, the left-handed defenseman from the National Developmental Team. He is committed to college, so he's definitely not going to be a day oneer. But this kid, 6'4", 212, that obviously stands out right there. He's 18 now, which is good. Or he just turned 18. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, man. Jeez. Just turned 18 yesterday, right? Was that yesterday or a couple days ago? Jeez. Big, powerful, defensive-minded defender, physical and intimidating, skates well. IQ is questionable. If this kid would have been available, or if he's available when the Flyers actually pick, I would be in the second round. I'd be a little intrigued, to say the least, about taking this kid. I like obviously a 6'4", 212. Skates well. IQ is questionable. I'm not asking the quarterback a power play. I'm not asking him to do that. It doesn't take much of a mindset to stand in front of the net and keep the front of my porch clean. It doesn't take much of a IQ to clear out pucks and to be on rebounds. I'm not asking him to do too much. I don't want him to be quarterbacking anything. I just want him to be a big body in front, especially on the PK. So if he is available, This is a no-brainer for the Flyers, and I think it's a no-brainer for Anaheim, even though they have so many other issues. But, they got to start amassing talent somehow. But Will Sackhan from the National Developmental Team, and that takes us to the Flyers at 36th, right? So let's look at the big board. There's some players that are intriguing right now. Now, I set the Flyers' needs pretty basic, right? I set goal scoring forward, playmaking, not goal scoring center, goal scoring center, playmaking center, and like grinder center as my first three needs. Because I think we're so barren when it comes to centermen on this organization. I don't know if the Flyers are going to go center with 3 straight picks. They probably won't. But and I didn't either. I went with the left wing at my second pick, so at 30. But here we go. The big computer is telling me that a playmaking centerman is what I'm looking for. But I'm seeing a player here that kind of I've been looking at. There's 2 players actually that I've been looking at, and let's take a look at both of them right now. Let's take a look at Ryder Ritchie first. 6 foot, 174, solid scoring and playmaking winger, moves well on the ice, non-existent physical play and defense. So again, what are we looking for Ryder to do? Offense. This team, the Flyers, 2.8 goals a game, woefully bad on the power play last year. We need offense where we can get it, right? And trying to amass a playmaker, trying to amass a kid who can score, a kid who can skate. I'm not necessarily interested in his ability to play in the middle. I'm not interested in his ability to play down low or to battle pucks in the corner. I want him in open ice. I want him in open ice on the breakaway. The Flyers love the little touch pass, Hail Mary type thing, the spring and odd man rush. Ryder Ritchie, to me, kind of fits that mold. 6 foot, that's okay. That's a good height. 174, probably needs to put on about 15 or 20 pounds, but he is not a day one NHLer. He's going to probably return to Prince Albert. I like right wing. We're barren at right wing as well. We have a few, not many. Mitch Koff would be one, but I'm going to go ahead here and kind of put that off to the side and take a look at the other player that I've been looking at. He's the left winger, Andrew Basha from Medicine Hat. He is Caden Lindstrom's teammate. Now, a little heavier, 6 foot, 185, intelligent, offensively creative, versatile forward, great skater, high end visibility, 0 physicality. Once again, I got a guy that's not going to provide me much in battling, which I'm not really looking for that. But I got a guy that's highly intelligent, offensively creative, versatile forward. So that means he can be moved around. I don't know if he could live in the NHL as a centerman at that weight. He's got to get heavier. But I'm not necessarily going to ask him to be a full-time centerman. I'm going to ask him to move him around. And if I have a guy that can go left, right, and center and move him and be versatile throughout my lineup, I'm going ahead with him. Ryder Ritchie and Andrew Basha at the beginning of the season were as well first-round talent projected players. I'm going to go ahead. I know I'm taking a left wing is tough, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select Basha with 36. So there's my 36th overall, second round pick for the Flyers, Andrew Basha, to join Caden Lindstrom and Tanner Howell as my draft pick so far. So let me write him in. I got to make sure I keep track of this. So that's Andrew Basha. All right, and let's move on to the next pick. Now I'm going to kind of go fast through the rest of these. I'm going to kind of speed ahead until we get to the Flyers pick. I may stop and talk about some names if they jump out at me. But there you go. Obviously, this is not the Coyotes. This is the Utah team, whoever they may be. Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, these are. So there's Ryder Ritchie. Now look at that. Ryder went from projected me taking him at 36, and he fell all the way to 43 to the Sabres. Good pick for the Sabres. Really good pick. Again, a team that's devoid of any talent, really trying to amass talent as well. That's a good pick. I think Ryder Ritchie is going to be a good player in the league. I do. Moving down here to going through the Penguins. Here come the Flyers up at 51. And let's set the Islanders there at 50. All right, so here we go. Flyers have picked in my draft so far with their first 3 picks, have taken a center and 2 left wings. I need to mix it up a little bit. I need a right wing, or I need to go defense. We've added Jamie Drysdale, who's a good right-handed defender. He's an offensively minded defenseman. We don't have too many defensively minded defensemen, but am I willing to take a defensively minded defenseman at 51 overall when I know I need more playmakers. When I know I need, I'm building a line for a MattyB Michkov. I'm building that line for him. Do I go ahead and I go physical, or do I keep rolling the offensive dice? So let's take a look at Mr. Colton Roberts from the Vancouver Giants of the WHL. 6'4", 194. This kid's huge. Big, strong, two-way defender, hard to play against defensively, physical, limited offense. All right, he definitely fits the bill of a physically, defensively minded defenseman. We don't have too many of those in the organization right now. And they still have a place in the National Hockey League. They do. And I think a lot of teams are ignoring them, but they still have a place. But I need some offense. So take a look at Adam Kleber. All right, let's take a look at Adam here. I think I'm going to like that. 6'5", 203. Big, strong, physical defender. Uses his body and stick effectively. Skates with heavy stride. So if they're not talking about his offense, then it's kind of medium, right? It's medium. It's kind of there, but not there. It's not a deficiency, but it's not a strength. He's got average offense. 6'5", 203 pounds. He's with the Lincoln Stars of the USHL, so that means he's moving on to college as well. So he definitely will not be a day one NHLer. You know what? I cannot resist a 6'5", 203 pound defenseman who skates, who can skate and uses his body and uses his stick. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm taking Adam Kleber with my 51st overall pick in this draft. So there's my second round pick. Let me write them down. A Kleber. And it satisfies the need now of a physical defenseman that I can kind of like learn, kind of groom. I think that's it. Let's continue through this and see if I run into another player. We're going down to pick 65, and then next week we will do. Now, Brody Zimmer, he was somebody I was looking at too. 5'11", 192. I like his weight. His height, I don't know if he can grow himself into his body. I was looking at him potentially at that 51 position, but I went, I was like, nah, I got to go defense there. But let's see what we got here. Some pick. All right. Colton Roberts. So he fell all the way to 56 to Edmonton. All right. I'm going to go down to 65, and it looks like the Flyers are done in the second round. So there you have it. The Flyers are done. That is the end of the second round. And we'll do the last pick here with Seattle. And then that sets us up for the third round, which we'll do next week. So there you have it. There's my second round picks. Adam Basha, the left winger, and then Adam Kleber, the right-handed defenseman. There are my second round draft picks for the Flyers in 2024. And they join Caden Lindstrom and Tanner Howe as my first round pick. So I would love to hope that we can, that this will actually kind of work itself out, because that would be amazing. Kind of add some talent, kind of add some, some physicality. Yeah, that'd be good stuff. All right. Mike, how you doing? EOP will be doing the NL draft in person. Gary as well. Oh, there you go. See, look at that. Now we're jumping into the damn lacrosse draft. We just had a bunch of drafting fools over here at EOP. That's good stuff. I did not know that, Mike. Thank you for letting me know. Phillies are being disrespected 20 games. Star Wars. Man, who cares? Who's disrespecting the Phillies? The national media? Who gives a damn? I mean, come on, man. Got bigger fish to fry. How big is Michkov? Michkov is about 5'10". He's not big, but he's fast. And we're not asking him to play in front of the net. He's about 5'10", 5'11". John Mustard is a name that jumps out. Yeah, John Mustard. K1. Oh, that's K1 from the Little Phil show there. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, Michkov is 5'10", 5'11"-ish. But the problem with Michkov is he might not be able, if they catch him, they may hurt him. The problem is they can't catch him. So that's where Michkov kind of seals the deal. All right, folks, I went over an hour. That's right. Man, I am going to get in trouble, but I went over an hour because I just couldn't keep my mouth shut about the Flyers. One final point, though, about the MattyB Michkov situation. If the Flyers are able to get him, it'll be the third player they've plucked out of the KHL this season over the last 6 months. He'll join Kovaltsov, he'll join Fedotov, and now it'll be Michkov. It looks like the Flyers are trying to take all those assets with them out of the KHL. They got one more player languishing over there, Igor Vorajin. He's a goalie, big, good goalie. Sub 1.6 GAA last year. ERA. I'm baseball mentality right now. So they'll be left with one player left that they have rights to. If they can get Michkov out of the KHL, they'll only have one more player left in the KHL they have rights to. So hopefully that's what we're trending towards. Hopefully that's what we're trending to get people out of the KHL and here to Philadelphia. Michkov, keep an eye on that story. It's an ever-developing story. It should provide and we should know something very soon because it should definitely be in place for the Flyers draft. And remember, the draft will be seen here on the Edge of Philly Sports, at least the first round on June 28th from Vegas. I will get into this more in depth next week. I'm not a big fan of breaking down schedules early on in the season. I left the Eagles off my docket tonight, just only for a couple things I talked about. But I will get into that next week. I don't know if you're going to like what you hear from me, but I don't care. So yeah, I'll leave it off the docket. But anyway, I want to remind everybody this show was brought to you by, we already talked about a few of them, but don't forget Sherry's Tickets. Great prices, no hidden fees for sports, concerts, and theater. The good folks over at Dave Cherry, injury law, workman's comp, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, and criminal law. Check out Dave for all those issues and needs. And I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? Philly Sports Trips. I don't have any graphic for them, but you already know about Philly Sports Trips. They got you covered if you want to travel like the pros. So head over to Philly Sports Trips. And of course, me, MattyB. It's my honor to be here every week. I enjoy it. Part of your kicking off your Philadelphia Sports Week. And one last comment, Dave Yarnall saying, how am I doing? I'm doing good, Dave. How are you? So that's going to wrap me up. You guys take care. Have a great Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Party on Broad, I think, is already going on. There's a bunch of stuff going here on EOP. Let me put that up. Get in trouble if I don't. Here's our schedule this week. You get Trending in the AM Football Smack Talk Show, me, Party on Broad, and then everything else that's going to happen this week. Keep us on 24/7 because that's about how we come at you these days. So 24/7. And don't forget tomorrow, when the Phillies get back at it, the Titans final. This is your lineup for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mike, Pat, and me. And you'll be seeing, of course, a lot of me. And you always do because I'm everywhere, dropping written stuff all the time. So, all right, guys, that is definitely going to do it. Till we talk again, that is the news, and I'm out of here.